Before the creation of Eve, there was another woman, one whose existence has been nearly forgotten by time. Lilith. She was not made from Adam's rib, but from the very same dust as him. She was created equal, yet she would not submit. She refused to kneel before Adam, to become his subordinate, to remain silent, and for that defiance, she was cast out of Eden. But what if the story we've been told for centuries is a lie? What if Lilith was not the demonized villain history made her out to be? What if she was a warrior for freedom, a symbol of feminine strength, a trailblazer of autonomy, a true reflection of what it means to be free? Lilith's story is not just a tale, it's a revelation waiting to be uncovered. You may have heard whispers about her in the shadows, about how she's been painted as a terrifying creature lurking in the night. But what if the truth about Lilith isn't the terrifying myth we've been taught? What if, in reality, she is the first feminist, the original force of rebellion, and a symbol of the struggle for equality that still resonates today? In this video, we'll uncover the untold truth about Lilith. We will dig into the depths of ancient myths, explore the terrifying demons, and finally, we'll discover her evolution from feared monster to revolutionary hero. From the Mesopotamian shadows to her fierce presence in Kabbalah, Lilith's journey reveals the powerful force of feminine power and the way it was bent, twisted, and silenced throughout history. Are you ready to discover her true legacy? Let's dive into the truth about Lilith, the woman who refused to kneel. Lilith in Mesopotamia, a demon born of fear. In the ancient world, before Lilith was known as the rebellious woman who defied Adam, she was feared as a dark spirit, a being that was born from the primal chaos of life and death. Her origins trace back to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, where the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians first whispered her name. But she wasn't just a figure in the shadows. She was the embodiment of humanity's deepest fears. Fear of death, fear of the unknown, and the fear of the forces beyond human control. Lilith wasn't just a demon. She was the manifestation of the terror that plagued mothers and children, a terror so real, so visceral, that it was woven into the very fabric of life in the ancient world. In a time when death was sudden and unexplained, and when mothers lost their children to forces beyond their understanding, Lilith became the scapegoat. She was blamed for everything. The death of a child in its crib, Lilith. The tragic loss of a woman during childbirth, Lilith again. The people of Mesopotamia believed that Lilith was a spirit of the night, a wind demon, a creature that preyed upon women during their most vulnerable moments. Imagine the darkness of a mother's grief as her newborn passes into the unknown, with no explanation, no reason, nothing but the heart-wrenching emptiness. In the absence of scientific understanding, they clung to the only explanation they had: Lilith. The mother-stealer, the child-slayer, the spirit of fear that descended from the night. And yet, as terrifying as this may sound, Lilith wasn't simply a demon. She was a reflection of the very fragility of life, a life lived in constant struggle against the forces of death and darkness. She wasn't an evil entity in the traditional sense. She was a symbol of the terror that humanity faced, struggling to survive against forces too powerful to understand. But this terror, it would eventually evolve, morphing from the image of a demon into something much more powerful. She would become the first woman to challenge the established order, the first to stand against the tyranny of a patriarchal world. What if, instead of fearing Lilith, we understood her as a representation of human suffering? What if her story was the world's way of grappling with the mystery of life and death? And what if, instead of banishing her, we could learn from her resilience in the face of unimaginable fear? The truth about Lilith in the Bible, a silent whisper of a dark reality. The Bible doesn't give us much about Lilith, but the one moment she does appear is charged with an eerie power that cannot be ignored. In the book of Isaiah, in the midst of a prophecy describing the destruction of Edom, we find her name. But this is no ordinary mention. Isaiah 34:14 speaks of a desolate land filled with wild creatures and demons. Among them, in a list of terrifying beings, lies the single mention of Lilith. Wild cats shall meet with hyenas, and goat demons shall call to their kind. There too shall the Lilith repose and find for herself a place of rest. A solitary word. Lilith. One name among many. No backstory, no explanation, just a whispered mention, buried in the midst of a prophecy of doom. But what does this truly mean? Is this the same Lilith from ancient Mesopotamian legend? A demon born of fear, now haunting the lands of the damned? Or is this the beginning of something much deeper, something far more profound? Many translations interpret Lilith here as a screech owl, a creature of the night, a fitting symbol for the desolation described in Isaiah's prophecy. But there's another interpretation, one that argues that Isaiah is referencing a demonic entity, a force of darkness that existed before the fall of Eden, a spirit born from the wild, untamable forces that lurk at the edges of civilization. And if this is true, then Isaiah is giving us a glimpse into a darker reality, a reality where Lilith exists as more than just a myth, more than just a demon of fear. She is a force of nature, an untouchable presence, a manifestation of the primal chaos that governed the ancient world. The fact that this word is used so sparingly in Scripture only makes it more intriguing. Lilith's existence in the Bible is not a coincidence. Her name is an echo of a world that is no longer understood, a time when spirits were real and darkness lived just beyond the veil. And though she is mentioned only briefly, Lilith's name in Isaiah becomes a key, a bridge between the ancient world of spirits and the world of human struggle that we live in today. Her mention serves as a subtle reminder that the forces of darkness have always been with us, watching, waiting, lurking in the shadows of our existence. Is this the moment when Lilith moves from being a mythological demon into a more tangible force, an entity that moves through time, lingering at the edges of human consciousness? And if so, what does that mean for us today? Perhaps Lilith's role is not just to be feared, but to be understood. In her dark, silent whisper, she beckons us to look deeper, to understand the complexities of life and death, and to explore the forces that shape our world. In Isaiah's prophecy, we're not simply encountering a demon, we're encountering the darkness that exists within us all, the fear we can never fully escape. But we can face it. We can look it in the eye and learn from it. Is it possible that Lilith was never meant to be a symbol of evil, but rather a reminder of the power of life's struggles and the way we must constantly fight against the forces that threaten to overtake us? Could she be calling out for us to find strength in our own struggles, to rise above the chaos of the world and embrace the power of resilience? By understanding Lilith's role in the Bible, we're not just uncovering a forgotten name, we're unlocking a key to the deeper mysteries of existence. Lilith is not merely a demon to fear. She is a reflection of all that we struggle against, a mirror that shows us the darkness we must face and the strength we must find within ourselves to overcome it. Lilith's legacy is not just in her defiance, but in her ability to transcend time. She moves through history, changing shape, changing meaning, but always carrying with her the lessons we need to learn. In the darkness, there is light, and in the struggle, there is power. Lilith is not just a name, she is a force, a symbol of resilience and freedom that we can still learn from today. Lilith in alphabet of Ben Sira, Adam's first wife. The story of Lilith as Adam's first wife is not just a tale of defiance. It's a raw, emotional clash of identities and power. Lilith was created equal from the same earth as Adam, but her refusal to submit would forever change the narrative. In the alphabet of Ben Sira, we learn of their first encounter. Lilith, bold and unyielding, would not be subjugated. She did not accept her place beneath Adam. Instead, she boldly declared, "We are equal inasmuch as we were both created from the earth." Can you feel the power in those words? Lilith's rebellion wasn't just against Adam. It was against the very foundations of a world that sought to define her, to keep her in chains. This wasn't about pride or vanity. It was about asserting her autonomy, her right to be seen as an equal. Imagine the courage it must have taken to stand in front of the first man, the first human, and demand respect, equality, freedom. When Adam tried to dominate her, to force her into submission, Lilith made a choice that no one in the garden had ever made before. She left. She refused to be shackled by a system that sought to silence her. In that moment, Lilith chose freedom over paradise. She made the ultimate sacrifice, the loss of Eden, for the sake of her integrity. This is where her true power lies, not in her rebellion, but in her unwavering stance for equality. She didn't want to destroy Adam, nor did she want to overthrow the world. She simply wanted to be recognized as his equal. And when that was denied to her, she walked away from the paradise she could have had, choosing the unknown, choosing the freedom to define her own life. In this part of her story, Lilith's defiance becomes a powerful symbol for all those who feel oppressed, unseen, or marginalized. How many times in our own lives have we been told to accept our place, to be quiet, to conform? Lilith's story is a reminder that true strength comes from refusing to settle for anything less than equality. She was not a demon. She was a symbol of courage, resilience, and the unyielding fight for autonomy. Her story is a testament to the fact that sometimes, in order to find yourself, you must walk away from what's comfortable, even if that means losing everything. Lilith in Kabbalah, the Queen of Demons. In the world of Kabbalah, Lilith transforms once more. No longer just a rebellious wife, she becomes a cosmic force, a primordial spirit that embodies the darkness, the seductive power of the Sitra Achra, the other side of creation. Lilith is no longer merely a victim of a system that sought to silence her. She becomes a symbol of forbidden power, the Queen of Demons, a being who embodies both destruction and creation. In the Zohar, one of the most influential texts in Kabbalistic mysticism, Lilith is depicted as a cosmic seductress. She represents the unrestrained, untamed nature of femininity, divorced from procreation, embodying pure sensuality. She is no longer just a symbol of rebellion. She becomes a force of nature, a powerful entity whose influence stretches across the spiritual and physical realms. Imagine Lilith as the dark counterpart to Samael, the angel of death, representing all that is opposite to divine holiness. She is the chaos to creation, the seduction that challenges the divine order, and the embodiment of all the forces that defy the natural flow of life. In Kabbalistic thought, Lilith is not just a demon, she is a necessary force, balancing out the cosmic struggle between good and evil, creation and destruction. But here's the twist. Lilith is not evil in the traditional sense. In Kabbalah, she is seen as a necessary part of the cosmic balance. Her darkness is not to be feared but understood. Just like the night, she exists to complement the day, to remind us of the hidden forces that move behind the veil of the visible world. Without Lilith, there would be no understanding of true light. Without darkness, light would have no meaning. Lilith's transformation into the Queen of Demons is not just a fall from grace. It's a rebirth. She becomes a powerful symbol of sexuality, freedom, and rebellion. In a world where women are often asked to remain silent, to stay in the shadows, Lilith's presence in Kabbalistic thought challenges everything. She says, "I will not be silenced. I will not be controlled. I am power. I am freedom. I am darkness and light. In her new form, Lilith is no longer a victim. She has reclaimed her strength, her independence, and her power. She no longer asks for permission to exist. She simply is. And that, my friends, is the most powerful thing of all. Lilith teaches us that even in the darkest moments, there is power. Even in rebellion, there is creation. Just like in the story of Adam and Lilith, there is no true freedom without defiance. Lilith's story in Kabbalah is a reminder that we must embrace all aspects of ourselves, even the parts that society wants to suppress or demonize. In darkness, there is wisdom. In rebellion, there is liberation. And through her we see the profound truth. The darkness that once frightened us is the very source of our greatest power. When we embrace it, when we confront it, we unlock the strength within ourselves to become something greater than we ever imagined. Lilith's journey is not just her own, it is a reflection of the journey we all must take to embrace our true selves, to stand up against the forces that seek to control us, and to finally claim our freedom, our power, and our voice. She may have been demonized, cast aside, and forgotten, but in the end, she is the one who will be remembered, and so too will we, when we finally refuse to be silenced, refuse to be controlled, and stand in our full power. Lilith teaches us that true strength comes from within, and it's time we all started listening. Lilith in the 20th century, reclaiming her power as a feminist icon. For centuries, Lilith was seen as a monster, a demon, the embodiment of fear and chaos. She was cast out of Eden, labeled as the villain, condemned for her defiance. But what if Lilith's defiance was not her downfall, but her strength? What if her exile from paradise was not a punishment, but a revolutionary act of freedom, a refusal to remain chained to a system that sought to silence her? In the 20th century, everything changed. Lilith's story wasn't just re-examined, it was completely reclaimed. Feminists struggling against the oppressive forces of a patriarchal society saw in Lilith a symbol of autonomy, resilience, and power. She became the first woman to demand equality, the first woman to choose freedom over subjugation, the first to stand up and say, "I will not be controlled, I will not be silenced." Imagine the shock of that realization. For so long, Lilith had been vilified, turned into a scapegoat for every fearful, destructive force society couldn't explain. But now, she was being transformed into a hero, a role model, a symbol of female empowerment. The world wasn't ready for her, and maybe, just maybe, she was the woman they needed all along. This shift didn't happen overnight. It began with voices like Judith Plaskow, a theologian who, in 1972, reclaimed Lilith's story in her powerful essay, The Coming of Lilith. She reimagined Lilith not as a demon, but as a woman who refused to bow down, a woman whose only crime was her refusal to accept an inferior position. Plaskow's writing wasn't just a retelling, it was a call to arms for women everywhere to claim their voice, their power, and their place in the world. And from there, it only grew. Lilith wasn't just a historical figure anymore. She became a movement, an emblem of everything that women were fighting for. The name Lilith became synonymous with rebellion, strength, and self-determination. In the late 1970s, the Lilith magazine, a feminist publication, emerged, boldly taking the name of this powerful symbol. Women everywhere were embracing Lilith's legacy, saying, "We are not going to be silenced anymore." But why did Lilith resonate so strongly? Why did her name carry so much weight? The answer lies in what she represents. Lilith is not just a mythological figure. She is the embodiment of every woman who has ever been told to be quiet, to know her place, to accept what is given to her. She is the woman who stands up, even when it costs her everything. She is the rebel, the warrior, the leader, the symbol of what it means to take control of your own destiny. And in a world where women's voices have often been silenced or ignored, Lilith's story became a rallying cry. She was the woman who said, "I am worth more than the role assigned to me, and I will fight for my voice, my place, and my truth." But Lilith's power wasn't just in her rebellion. It was in her willingness to face the consequences. She chose freedom, but it came at a cost. The price was high. She had to leave paradise. She had to face exile. She had to live with the consequences of her actions, a life filled with loss, hardship, and pain. But through it all, she remained unbroken. She became stronger with every challenge she faced. And in this, she taught us a vital lesson, that true freedom doesn't come without sacrifice. That true power comes from being willing to stand alone, to face the unknown, and to be unapologetically yourself, no matter the cost. This is what makes Lilith so powerful today. She isn't just a character from an ancient myth. She is a living symbol, a mirror of every woman's struggle, every woman's fight to be heard, to be respected, to be free. Her story isn't just one of rebellion, it's one of empowerment, strength, and the unwavering belief that you are worthy of equality, no matter who tries to tell you otherwise. And as Lilith's story continues to evolve, it remains a beacon of hope for all those who refuse to be silenced. Her legacy is alive in every woman who stands tall and says, "I will not conform. I will not accept my place in the shadows. I will take my place in the light." This is why Lilith is more than just a figure in history. She is a symbol of what is possible when we refuse to be defined by others. She is the voice of every woman who has ever felt small, overlooked, or oppressed. She is the call to arms for all of us to rise up, to demand what is rightfully ours, and to never settle for less than we deserve. In the 20th century, Lilith was reborn as a feminist icon, a symbol of power and autonomy for all who would listen. But her legacy didn't stop there. It was passed down, kept alive, and shared from one generation to the next, teaching every woman the power of self-assertion and the freedom that comes with owning your story. Lilith's power is in her defiance, but also in her ability to teach others how to defy, how to rise, and how to claim their own power in a world that often wants to keep them down. As we come to the end of this journey, you might be thinking, what does Lilith's story really mean for me? Is she just another forgotten figure, a symbol of rebellion, or is there something deeper, something powerful we can take from her life, her struggle, and her defiance? Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've just traveled together. Lilith's story is not just the story of a woman cast out of Eden. It's the story of every single one of us who has ever felt the sting of injustice, the weight of silence, or the crushing burden of being told who we should be. Her journey is our journey, of self-discovery, self-empowerment, and the relentless fight for equality. What we saw in Lilith was a woman who refused to be defined. In a world that expected her to be silent, to obey, and to conform, she chose the harder path, the path of freedom. She didn't just stand up to Adam, she stood up to the entire system. She rejected the roles assigned to her by society, by culture, and even by history. She chose her own identity, and in doing so, she became something far more powerful than any of the labels that had been placed upon her. But here's the truth. Lilith's story is not just about defiance, it's about the power of self-awareness, of recognizing your worth, and standing firm in your truth, even when the world tells you to be quiet. Her power lies in her refusal to be silenced, in her boldness to live authentically, even when that authenticity comes with a price. Imagine the courage it took to walk away from paradise, to choose freedom over comfort, to face the unknown rather than live in a gilded cage. Lilith's story teaches us that freedom isn't free. It requires sacrifice, it requires pain, and it requires an unwavering belief that we are worth more than the roles others try to impose on us. But Lilith's defiance didn't stop with her own life. Her legacy is far more than just a myth or a distant memory from ancient history. It's a fire that still burns in us today. Every time we choose to stand up for what's right, every time we push against the tide of conformity and fight for our authenticity, we are channeling the spirit of Lilith. Her story is a call to arms, a reminder that we all have the strength to fight for the life we deserve, no matter the obstacles in our way. In today's world, Lilith's power is even more relevant. The fight for equality, for justice, and for freedom is still ongoing. Whether we're fighting for women's rights, racial equality, or simply for the right to be ourselves, Lilith's story reminds us that we are not powerless. We hold the power to shape our destiny, to define our worth, and to demand a place at the table, even if it means walking away from the status quo. So, what does this mean for you? If you've ever felt like the world was trying to silence you, like your voice didn't matter, Lilith's story is a reminder that your voice is everything. You are enough. You are worthy of being heard, of being seen, of being respected. Just like Lilith, you have the power to shape your own story. Don't let anyone or anything convince you that you have to live by someone else's rules. Your story is yours to write. If Lilith's journey has spoken to you, if her defiance has inspired you, then know this: you are not alone. Every day, all around the world, people are standing up, speaking out, and fighting for the freedom to be themselves. Your fight matters. Every time you choose to be true to yourself, every time you reject the roles others want to assign to you, you are honoring Lilith's legacy. You are saying, "I will not be silenced. I will not be controlled. I will stand in my truth, and I will fight for my place." And just as Lilith's story is not over, neither is yours. Every chapter of your life is an opportunity to stand taller, to be bolder, and to continue fighting for your freedom and your truth. The world may not always understand, but your journey is the most important one you'll ever take. If this message has resonated with you, if Lilith's power has sparked something inside you, I encourage you to share your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Tell us what Lilith means to you, how her story has shaped your perspective, and how you plan to carry her legacy forward in your own life. Your voice is powerful. And if you found value in this video, if it's helped you find your own strength, your own voice, and your own power, I ask that you consider showing your support. A simple like, a share, or even a subscription means more than you could know. It's how we keep these stories alive, how we keep shining the light in dark places, and how we continue to build a community of strength, love, and truth. Thank you for being here, for standing with Lilith, and for standing with each other. Together, we can create a world where no one has to walk alone, where no one has to feel silenced. Together, we can rewrite the story, and just like Lilith, we will make our voices heard. We will rise. We will be free.